Okay, this is the time where we get some smarter voices on the conversation than mine. We got the community table here, introductions. Ashley Vaughn, St. Louis University law student. Frank DeGrath, best known perhaps for Count on Downtown, the blog. Nadia Brown, thanks for coming back as well, St. Louis University. And Charlie Hinderleiter, political director with Representative John Deal. But you're here not necessarily to talk for him, but to talk for yourself. So I want to know what the table has heard tonight about our legislative session that has piqued your interest or made you mad, perhaps?
Well, shall I start?
Not all at once, please.
I think it's a little short-sighted. It's disappointing. Missouri historic tax credits, for instance, is maybe the most successful tax credit program in history. Generates $1.50 for every dollar that's invested in it. That's just bad business choice, you know, to do away with that.
This is what people can see the evidence of this, would you say, when you drive down, say, Washington Avenue and you see the rehabilitated buildings there, or in different neighborhoods that have come back throughout all parts of the city?
Yeah, and it's not just St. Louis, it's all over the state. It's Kansas City, it's Springfield, it's Herman. It's a successful program all over the state. And I think, you know, I thought this session was about creating jobs. Well, I don't see anything that's passed so far that's really about creating jobs. Like Medicare, not expanding Medicare, it's going to cost a lot of jobs.
Medicaid, but I know what you're saying.
Sorry, Medicaid, sorry.
Okay.
And it's going to flood emergency rooms with the uninsured, which is much more expensive than expanding Medicare. So it's, as I said, it all seems very short-sighted.
I think two of the biggest things that we've seen so far is today the second injury fund fix that was passed. I think that's a huge thing. That's something the legislature's been trying to do for the better part of a decade. And finally today they were successful in doing that.
Is that really going to, does that impact us? That's something I think most people don't even understand what it is.
It's one that I don't think most people do understand what it is, and I think that's one of the reasons why perhaps the legislature's not been able to get movement on that before. But this is something that I think is a success of bipartisanship. Treasurer Zweifel and Attorney General Koster, both Democrats came out praising the bipartisan vote by both the Republicans and about half the Democrats in the House. So I think this is one area where we have seen success on a long-term problem that we've seen that was done in a bipartisan fashion. And I think that's something that maybe we haven't seen as many examples of this session.
It might be hard to sell to people that this was a bipartisan session based on something that they haven't really heard of or know about. What's your sense of things otherwise?
Well, there's not really much the Democrats and the legislature can do except be bipartisan because there's so few of them. Right. It's not like they can even be obstructionists to the Republican agenda in the House. They get a little bit more leeway in the Senate, but what else are they going to do? It's not like many of their bills are going to get passed. We've seen several Democratic priorities that didn't even make it to hearings.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think Missouri is much different than some other states in the nation, where the Republicans in Missouri seem to be really driven by ideology and not necessarily good politics or good policy. Maybe I would say the same thing for the Democrats as well, right? So it seems like it's much more partisan ideology driven by sides trying to put people first, put people's needs first, and putting aside politics.
You mean they are putting aside politics somewhere else in the country?
No, but yeah,
Where is
I think
crazy place you speak of?
In other places, just think about Illinois, right, where the GOP chairman just resigned because he advocated for marriage equality. And it was something that he felt strongly about as a GOP principle, where we don't see the same thing here in Missouri. And I think there's some differences about putting people's needs first beyond party politics.
Yeah, I think they're disenfranchising a large group of people right now. Like, for instance, the circuit breaker tax, which basically keeps more than 100,000, 65 plus, 100% disabled veterans in their houses. It's an average of like $500 a year that these people really need to keep a roof over their head. Otherwise, they would have to go to care, which is much more expensive. Again, short-sighted. But it's only $57 million a year. But it's okay to give Paul McKee, a developer, one person that has not created one job yet, $50 million extra on top of the 41 that he already got. And I don't...
You're talking about the land assembly tax credit, which has not passed yet, I do not believe.
Well, they just, SB 112 is now just passed the House, and the 51 tax credit for Paul McKee is in there. So the Senate still is debating, I think, as we speak. But, and I don't doubt Mr. McKee's motives. I think his motives are fine. But it's just, how can you make these choices?
Right, there are other priorities, and I think that's what I hear you saying. Right, there are some real life or death issues for ordinary American citizens that live in Missouri that are being overlooked in the essence of trying to protect wealthy business owners or people with political clout. So that's putting other people's needs in front of ordinary, average Missouri citizens.
Okay, let's leave it there because I want to get back on time and get back to social media. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Don't go too far.